Hello, my name is Alex Maloshenko. I am a moderator of today's meeting with Nancy Bishop. We are glad to open our Forum of Casting Directors with this workshop. Before we start, I want to tell you more about our event. Forum of Casting Directors is the first professional event of such scale in Ukrainian casting industry. It was founded by Ukrainian Association of Casting Directors with the financial support of Ukrainian Culture Fund. The main purpose of Forum is to start a conversation about the casting industry in Ukraine. 4 events will take place during the Forum. The first is a course of lectures for actors. The second is an industry forum of casting directors. The third is a laboratory for those who want to enter the profession. The fourth is the final meeting with the summarizing of Forum. The participants of Forum of Casting Directors are casting directors, actors, directors, producers, etc. As I said before, meeting with Nancy Bishop opens our forum. We wrote in our Facebook a lot of information about Nancy, but it was all in Ukrainian. So I repeat it in English. Nancy Bishop is a member of International Casting Director Network, an Emmy Award-nominated casting director who worked with 70 projects. Some films she has cast for include Mission Impossible Phantom, Avengers, Eisenstein and Guanajuato, Romanovs. She is also a writer, coach, and former theater director. We will discuss with our guest how an actor from foreign country can get into an international project. If you have some questions, please write them in the comments below our stream. So let's watch the clip with the announcements of our course of lectures, and let's begin. Hi, Nancy.
Hello.
How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So let's talk. We announced topic how an actor from foreign country can get into an international project.
So was that? Oh, sorry.
Yes, sorry. Could you give us some of your thoughts about the topic?
Well, just that all casting is international now, or almost always. Many of the projects that I'm working on are international, and especially if we're in a situation where we're looking for a Russian or a Ukrainian role, of course, we're going to look in countries like Ukraine because it's authentic, and authenticity in casting is very much the trend now, and I hope it stays because I think it's a very good idea to cast authentically. I personally don't like it when you see an actor, faking an accent or something. I'd much rather see a Russian actor or a Ukrainian actor in a Ukrainian role than to see, let's say, an English actor doing an accent.
Is it hard to find actor for this role, actually, with authentic accent?
Well, no, I mean, there are many Russian actors who want to perform, Russian and Ukrainian actors who want to perform on the international stage. So I wouldn't say it's hard to find actors. I mean, there are challenges sometimes. I mean, of course, we know that there are restrictions with borders and with for example, visa requirements, and there's nothing I can do about that. You know, sometimes a visa requirement can prevent somebody from getting a job. There's also right now, there's of course COVID-19, and there are some countries that are closed to other countries. And, I don't think I need to go into that in so much detail. I think everybody's aware of that. But hopefully we hope that's a temporary border, right? I mean, temporary limitation. We hope that will go away in the next few years.
How often do you search for actors around Europe? Or do you prefer to have audition in a country which produces a film?
Well, it just depends on the project and the size of the role. I mean, I do local casting in Prague, and for example, right now I'm working on a project for one of the big screeners, and they made it clear to me 100% in no uncertain terms that the actors that I had to find for this particular episode absolutely have to live in Prague, and that has
Mhm.
to do with, sometimes it's a financial limitation, but this time it's very, very much about travel restrictions and COVID-19. But it's not always the case.
Mhm. Which roles can actor from foreign country get?
All of a sudden I can't hear you very well. I wonder what happened. Try again.
Okay, sorry, we have some technical issues. Uh, so, which roles can actors from foreign country get?
Well, you know, that's kind of a funny question. Of course, it depends on many things. Uh, like I said in the beginning, I think all casting is international now. And, if somebody is right for a role, it doesn't really matter what country they're from. But I think I did say already that, of course, in the case that we're looking for a Ukrainian role, we'd love to have a Ukrainian actor. Uh,
Mhm.
I think there's a certain amount of logic in it, right? Like if we're looking for a French character, we'd be looking for a French actor, etc., like that. Uh, or very often, Slavic actors would be considered for other Slavic roles, even though they're different languages and different culture. Like you might see a Balkan actor from Yugoslavia, the former Yugoslavia, for example, they might be up for a Russian role too, or a Russian might be up for a Serbian role, or it can happen like that. Or if somebody has a flawless accent in another language, they might be considered.
Um, is it possible for a Ukrainian actor to be part of an international project like non-Ukrainian role?
Well, it would depend. Yeah, I mean, of course it's possible, but it would depend on the parameters of the role and what we were looking for. I mean, this is a creative process, so there's not a rule about it. There's not a recipe or a rule or an algorithm. Um, it's creative, so it's going to be different each time, and it's going to depend on many factors.
Um, okay,
Now
what,
I can't
how,
hear anything, so I don't know if I'm missing something or not, but I hear nothing.
I think no. So how can a Ukrainian actor do this? Yeah, how can get into your point of view actually?
Well, I have been reaching out to a lot of Ukrainian agents recently, and the reason I got invited to this, I think, was because I have been in touch recently. I've taken 2 trips, well, total 4 trips to Ukraine over the years, and I was at the Odessa Film Festival. I guess not last year, but the 2 years before that, and I made some contacts there with Ukrainian casting directors and Ukrainian agents. And also, I met a few Ukrainian casting directors in Berlin last year. And so I've been making those contacts already for quite a few years. When I was in Kiev, what year was that now? Maybe it was 14 or something. It might have 2014 or 15. I'm not sure. I made some contacts then,
Mhm.
and the Rush some of the agents in Moscow know about Ukrainian, so it's usually through an agent that I would do it.
Okay, but this is a common practice in USA, but not so common in Ukraine or Europe.
Well, it is common certainly in Europe, and I noticed that it is happening more and more in Ukraine because I was able to make contacts. Um, So I know it exists. I know there are agents there because I've been talking to them. So I would urge actors to make relationships with agents there. And also, I think it would be a great idea if the actors for some reason feel like they're not being well represented by the agents, then they could form their own database or their own agency, or they could do so in cooperation with, for example, the Ukrainian Film Commission or something like that. Because that's a wonderful thing to do, to make some kind of central database of Ukrainian actors where you can register and where casting directors could find you.
So I have another question. How how can actors find out about international auditions, and what do they have to do to get casting directors' attention?
Well, as I say, I think that a great way is by getting an agent, and so that's number one. That the agent should know about them. Also, you can join IMDb Pro, for example, and you can look for what's in pre-production. You can read the trades. So, for example, things like Variety and Hollywood Reporter and stuff like that. Read and see what films are coming, and then you can look up on IMDb and see who the casting director is. Sometimes you get to the casting director too late in that case. Also, I'm very encouraging of actors who want to be proactive about doing their own things. So, like for example, during lockdown. Now, are you still in lockdown in Ukraine or not? Are you out, or are you still in your homes there?
Um, it's so actually. We have some restrictions, but we can shoot on the stage um, with some self defense.
Yeah, yeah, okay. No, the reason I'm asking is just because during lockdown, what I've noticed is that a lot of actors are doing a lot of really creative things at home. They're doing their own films and they're sending them in. There was an online film festival, for example. But the point is that no matter if it's lockdown or not, actors are always free to do their own work, to do their own monologues, to make short films, to get together with other actors, to be creative, to make creative relationships with beginning directors, volunteer your services to a director, um, and to get their work out there online, on YouTube, on Instagram. There's so many different forums now where you can create work and show it. And very often, if you have something that's really authentic and very, you'll find that people will be coming to you. There are actors who have made their start by being creative and authentic on a YouTube platform, for example. So that's another thing you can do is just engage yourself, uh, and we'll find you too.
Thank you. You mentioned before MDB Pro.
Hmm.
Have you ever used casting portals for an audition? Which of you have?
Of course, I use them all the time. A lot of it depends on what the production wants to use. Um, but I mean, it. I mean, the one that I use is not necessarily the one that's going to be the best for actors. But I mean, I think maybe what you're asking about is databases. Is that what you're asking about? Like, what is the best database for an actor to register on? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, something like this.
Okay. Well, I think that there's one called Cast Upload right now that's very good. Um, there is Spotlight is very good. eTalenta is very good. Um, Casting Networks is very good. And also, there's one called We Audition. And if anybody follows me on Instagram, you can see I did an interview on Insta Live for We Audition. And I learned that day that they have a very special program where you can get somebody to rehearse with you. So, for example, if you had a scene that you wanted to practice in English, you could get a scene partner online to do that. And I thought that was quite a useful website. So that's one that you might look at. We Audition.
Thank you, Cook. Could you give some tips for actors' profile?
Okay, so when you say profile, um, what do you mean? Do you mean their headshot or just in general their marketing material or
Um, so I ask you about this big databases and
oh, for the databases especially? Is that what you're asking about?
yeah, and the
Okay.
significant things for actors for the self-presentation on these portals.
Okay. Well, for any one of those portals, you need to have one photo that we see first. You know, usually there's a gallery that where you can place several photos, but you have the one kind of main head. So that headshot should be that. It should be a head, you know. So it shouldn't be your whole body. It should be your just your face. And it should be, of course, professionally shot. You should be looking right at camera. It should look exactly like you look now. Um, I realize that with men, sometimes they're shaven and sometimes they're not. So you have to kind of choose which, but you know, choose the one that you most often are, let's say. And you know, it's got to, you know, if you've changed your color of hair or anything like that, you've got to have the picture taken again. It should have a neutral background. You should be looking right at camera. Um, the shot should be somewhat neutral. So, in other words, you don't want uh, like a really toothy smile, for example, or you don't want like a bad guy shot. You want a shot where we can imagine you maybe as the bad guy or the good guy, and it needs to look like you on a good day. So that's the one, and it's quite hard to get it right on that photo. So you have to kind of ask around. I mean, sometimes actors want the photo that makes them look the best, but what how you want to think of it is you want to think which photo will get me the most work. So, um, and then you have a gallery behind that. So that's where you can put different photos. And so, in other words, if you're shaven, for example, if you're a man and you're shaven in your main shot, you want to have a picture where you're not shaven, maybe in your gallery. In your gallery, you can also have, you know, a full view of your body, which I find helpful to see the whole, you know, long shot of your body. You might also have a few production stills so that maybe we'll see one of you in costume or something like that. Also, if you want to get international work, it's very important to have your CV, you know, all your credits and everything listed in English. So we can see, you know, list the films and the theater and the TV you've done. You list them separately. It's important to have your height and your color of eyes and hair. Now, do not write your age. Write your playing range, which is usually within 10 years of your age. So if you're 25, you'd probably say 20 to 30. And also, it's very helpful to have video on there. So if you do have a show reel or if you have clips of your work, you should put them there. And if you only have clips in Russian or Ukrainian, you should have at least one tape of you speaking English so we hear what you sound like. And that could be, for example, a tape of just talking about you. You could just introduce yourself, just say a few things about you, and then we hear what your English sounds like. Or if you have work of you doing English, of you acting in English, that's great too. What else should be there? I do suggest having profiles on the social media platforms too, on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm not on it yet, but apparently TikTok is the new one that's important. Um, so does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. It's a full answer, actually.
Okay.
Uh, have you ever practiced open call castings?
Well, I've done worldwide searches sometimes. I haven't had, I've had some, mostly when I'm doing open call things, I'm doing them for charity. Like I'm doing two different monologue competitions in the last few months since the lockdown. And I do at Christmas in Prague last year. I don't know if I'll do it this year or not. I was doing meals for monologues. No, sorry. It was Toys for Tots, which that actors would come in and they would bring a toy. We'd give them it to the orphanage and they'd do a monologue and we'd give them feedback.
You worked with a project Painted Bird that was created in co-production with Ukraine. Could you tell us more about the casting process, please?
Well, I can't take a lot of credit for the casting process on that film because that particular film was directed by Václav Morhol, and he's an auteur, and he is one of those people who he directs, he produces, he writes, and he really does almost everything by himself because that's just the kind of person that he is. And so what I did for him was I made lists on some of the bigger characters that he ended up getting stars for. Like you saw, he got Harvey Keitel and Julian Sands and a few more. So I was helping him with those contacts and those lists. A lot of the stuff that he did himself, and that little boy, he found himself in a small town in the Czech Republic called Český Krumlov, where there are a big Roma population. And I think he found him himself. I wish I could take credit for finding that boy, but Václav did it.
You had such experience before, for example, when you casted actors for Peter Greenway?
Peter Greenway does use casting directors. I mean, some auteurs, they don't use casting directors. They just do it all themselves. I mean, Peter did use a casting director. I mean, he was using other casting directors too. And what I did for him was a search because he wanted the Eisenstein role, and I'm sure he did a search in Russia as well. I think he had some people working on it in Russia. And by the time it got to me, it was pretty late, and I think he had already found. In fact, I think he had already found that actor that he ended up using. So I did a search. I mean, I put a lot of actors on tape for him, and so that is, a lot of times we're called in to do that, just to do a search. That's part of our work.
Is it comfortable to you to work with such author director?
To work with famous directors, is that what you asked? Auteur. No, you said auteur. Is that what you said? Oh, sorry, I didn't hear well. Yeah, no, I mean, they're some of the best directors. Sure.
How did COVID-19 affected your work?
Well, we've already talked about it a bit. That actors can't travel as easily, and so productions, for example, the one I already mentioned in Prague, they're a bit paranoid about traveling actors around. I'm also working on one right now in Romania where we've the production. What they wanted to do is I had already taped a bunch of actors. I mean, mostly they had self-taped, and self-taping is something that's been happening for years anyway. So of course it's happening a lot more now, self-taping, but it's not a huge change because, like I say, we've already been doing it. But in any case, that they wanted to bring in three actors for callbacks on that one, and actually funny because one of them just didn't want to go. He just he didn't want to go for the call. He was like, "I'll go if I get the role, but I don't want to travel from London to Romania for a callback because it just didn't seem necessary or safe for him." So he's doing a Zoom audition, or a virtual online audition. And then another one of the actors was in Italy, and he wasn't his production. He had another film that wouldn't release him. I mean, it just got a lot more complicated because in order to get them to Bucharest, in order to even get on a plane, they had to have a COVID-19 negative test to begin with. And then, so you have to wait for the results, and then you have to maybe quarantine, or, and while you're waiting for the results, and blah, blah, blah. So obviously it slows things down a lot and complicates things. So, like I say, I hope this is just a temporary thing.
How do you think is the COVID-19? Oh, sorry. Is the self-tape is a new normality?
Self-tape what? Say it again.
Is a self-tape is a new normality?
Well, like I say, it's not the new normal. It's been normal for a long time. So it's not new. It's just, we're doing it more. But I mean, actually in Prague, we are able to, in Prague, we're able to meet with people because Prague has had a very good situation. In London, we're not able to meet people. In London, they're telling us not to meet people at all. So that's all self-tape.
So it depends on.
Depends on the country, yeah. And of course,
Thank
like,
you.
Americans aren't allowed to travel at all anymore, hardly, because that country has dealt with it so badly. So they're pretty much persona non grata. So it's, I think it's actually going to be good for Europe in some ways. I mean, not that I wanted, I wanted it to happen this way, but I think it's going to be a better place to shoot, a safer place to shoot than America for sure.
Thank you for your opinion. We've selected 3 self-tapes by Ukrainian actors in the partnership of Ukrainian casting portal Dreamcast and platform
Okay.
for screenwriters Terrarium.
Okay.
So it all was a lie? They told us about integrity and pride. We've been taught to hate our enemies, to hate evil, intolerance to scumbag runs down our veins. They said the money is evil and sex is dirty. They said that a book is the best present, that a true friendship is lasts forever, that you don't need to forgive cheating, that evil has to be punished, that you don't need to tolerate unfairness. I was happy because I was born in the best country in the world, and now I don't even know who I am. Why me? Everyone is living however they want, ignoring the rules, but aren't the rule has to be followed? Who should I believe?
So we watched the self-tape by Alexandra Bakhteyeva. Could you tell us your opinion, please?
Well, first of all, I'd like to ask, could everybody hear that? Could everybody in your audience hear that? Because I couldn't hear it. So you might want to check to see if people could hear it.
It's a pity, actually. I hear this, and we can
And did the audience hear it?
run this self-tape for you, actually, for one time, yeah.
So the audience did hear it for sure?
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody heard it except me, is
Yeah.
that right? Okay, well, I
Tech
can comment.
department said so.
Okay, well, I can comment on this one because I got earlier in the day, Olga sent me a bunch of tapes and I didn't have time to watch all of them, but I did have time to watch that one. So I can comment on that now, but I will not be able to comment on the other ones unless I hear them. So maybe there's a way you can figure out for me to hear them next time. But what I can say about that one is that she's a very good actress. Her English is very good, and it was a good performance. She also had it set up very well. She had like her framing was correct, and she had a plain background. The lighting was good. I could see her, I could hear her. So that was a good tape. She presented herself well, and I could definitely imagine that being a tape that you would send a casting director. In terms of the performance, what I would say is if she did it again, if she was in the room with me, what I would ask her to do is maybe play against the lines a little bit, because as I remember, it was a monologue about justice, and it was kind of like a lot of angry words. And often when you have a monologue like that, what you want to do is play against it a little bit. So instead of, like, if the words are angry, instead of playing angry, try to fight it a little bit. And often, and this is a note I give a lot, is find a joke in it somewhere to break it up, because that can be quite an effective thing. Because, well, first of all, everybody likes a joke. And second of all, often things that are very serious can be funny. And again, it breaks it up, and it makes it gives it another beat or another dimension. Sometimes also when we're very upset, we try not to be upset. So we might fight that, and we might smile even when we're upset. Or so that would be the note that I'd give her.
Thank you. Let's watch the second one.
Okay, and can you try to make it so I can hear it this time?
Yeah.
So it all was a lie. They told us about integrity and pride. We've been taught to hate our enemies, to hate evil. Intolerance to scumbags runs down our veins. They said that money is evil and sex is dirty. That book is the best present. That book is the best present, and friendship lasts forever. That you must not forgive cheating, that you mustn't tolerate unfairness, that evil should be punished. I was happy because I was born in the best country in the world. And now I don't even know who am I. Why me? Everyone is living their lives however they want, ignoring the rules. But aren't the rules to be followed? Who should I believe?
So, did you hear this self-tape?
Nope, I didn't. Sorry, I didn't.
Okay.
I can make
Could you
a
handle
few
with this?
comments. I can make a few comments just on what I saw, but they won't be complete. So I don't know. Maybe should we do something else? Should we take questions for a while you work out the technical problems? I mean, the one thing I can say is just that I would try like the background that she had. It looked like she was doing it in her bedroom or something. It's like that's fine for a Zoom call or something. Like right now we're on a video call, and like you see behind me, I have some, paintings on my wall, and that's okay for a meeting. But when you're doing a self tape, you should really try to set up studio conditions. So you should try to have just a plain blank wall behind you or a blank curtain or something, because you don't want us looking into your bedroom. We don't want to be distracted. We want to be watching you and your performance. So that's what I would say. But of course, now it might have been a brilliant performance, but I couldn't hear it. So maybe you'll correct that. And in the meantime, we can take some questions or
We try to
something.
repeat
Or
now this self-tape for you.
okay.
So it all was a lie. They told us about integrity and pride. We've been taught to hate our enemies, to hate evil. Intolerance to scumbags runs down our veins. They said that money is evil and sex is dirty. That book is the best present. That book is the best present, and you. Friendship lasts forever. That you must not forgive cheating. That you mustn't tolerate unfairness. That evil should be punished. I was happy because I was born in the best country in the world. And now I don't even know who am I. Why me? Everyone is living their lives however they want, ignoring the rules. But aren't the rules to be followed? Who should I believe?
So
Great.
yeah,
Yes, I heard it that time. Okay, and now it was the same monologue, right?
Yeah, this was
It's the
Maria
same monologue as
Filatov's
last time.
work. No,
It was the
it's
same same words as
not
the
the
last
same.
monologue. It wasn't?
No.
Oh, okay. It seemed similar to me, but anyway, it was good. I think that I really, really like her choice, because what she did was she pulled it in. She made it internal. She didn't push it out, So push. I just pushed my glasses out. I liked that choice a lot, because she kind of drew me in by being quiet. She kind of made it like, oh, this is, like it felt very personal to camera, like she was talking to me, and actually, normally we would say look next to the camera lens, but I don't know, wherever she was looking, it kind of worked. So I thought it was good. And she has these, intense blue eyes, and she really used them. And she looked very directly and she's very sincere and very connected to the material. So I thought that was good. So it was mostly very good. I would get the note about the background. And then also I would say that, the same thing as before, try to find a place that it's maybe where she breaks up the pace, or she breaks up the tone of it a little bit. And a joke is one way to do that. It doesn't have to be a joke, but maybe to find a different beat. We say in English, we say it's a beat when you change, you take a moment and then you change directions a little bit. I'm sure there's a word in Russian for that too. But yeah, it was very good. Both of them have been very good so far.
Yeah, sorry, I made mistake. It was the same monologue actually.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, I mishear the text. So we have another one, self-tape by Alena Kurta. So let's see it.
That's all was a lie, guys. That's all was a lie. They told us about integrity and pride. We were taught to hate our enemies, to hate the evil. Intolerance to scumbags runs down our veins. They said money is evil, sex is dirty. Book is the best present and true friendship lasts forever. They said, do not forgive cheating. Evil has to be punished and you must not tolerate unfairness. Damn, now I was born in the best country in the world and I was happy about that. And now I don't even know who I am. Why me? Why me? Everyone is living their lives however they want, ignoring the rules. But aren't the rules to be followed? Aren't they? Who should I believe? Who should I believe? Damn.
Good. Now, see, isn't this interesting? They're all doing the same material and they all made different choices. And I find it quite interesting because now people are having the experience that I have as a casting director because they're seeing different actors do the same material. And this is what we do. And you can see that we have three very good actresses here. They're all very good, but they're all very different, aren't they?
That's all was a lie, guys.
Sorry, we have some technical issues.
That's okay. So they're all very different. So you can see why maybe if I chose the most recent actress, it might not necessarily be because she was better than the other ones, but it could be just because I like the choices she made, or it could be because, and I forgive me for saying this because it's a very stupid thing to say, but it could be that the director really likes blondes or something like that. I mean, I know that's really, really dumb, but that kind of thing happens when you have three really good actresses and they have to make a choice. Sometimes it will be a very silly reason like that, or maybe that because it's with casting, it's not always about who is the best actor. It's about who is the best actor for that role and who embodies the kind of qualities that they're looking for in their role, or that the director wants to see in that role. So you can see these three women, they were all very good, but they looked different. They had different qualities. They had different strengths. So maybe you can see. And sometimes, like, for example, I just did a little video on this on Instagram about how Robert Redford and Al Pacino were going up for the same role once. In Godfather, and you can see why Al Pacino got it. It's not because he was better than Robert Redford. They're both excellent. But of course, Al Pacino embodies this kind of, New York Italian thing that Robert Redford is never going to embody. But anyway, that actress that just went, she probably wants notes from me, and I would say yes, very good. And her choices were somewhat in between. Like the first actress was a little bit more strong, like pushing it out a little bit more like a theater performance. The second one was a little bit more pulling it in, and third one, she was somewhere in between those two things. But she made also very unique choices, and the choices that she made embodied who she is. You know what I mean? She had her own qualities that were different than the other two.
Could you give some general tips for self-taping auditions?
Well, again, I think I already said, and I'll repeat, just make sure you have a solid background. So like not like the background I have now. Like if I were doing a self tape, maybe I'd move. I have this. See, I have this shade here, so maybe I'd move. I don't know. That's maybe not great, but you see the point I'm making. It's a plain background, so you don't have anything distracting in the background. So that's always good. Make sure to see you and hear you. We need to see your eyes.
It's
That's
like
very
my,
important. Like yours, yeah.
yeah, like
Yours,
mine
except
background.
I would say though that white isn't the best. White's okay, it's not terrible, but actually for whatever reason, blue or gray is usually works out the best. So and also you can even buy self-tape kits. They sell them online if you Google it. And so that would include, it would give you some kind of background curtain, a lighting set. I mean, sometimes natural light works very well. But if not, you have to find some way to filter light so it's not too strong and there's no shadows. You want a good mic, but look, actually, smartphones have great cameras on them, and I think that I have cast people from smartphone auditions, so that can absolutely work. Make sure, I know this sounds basic again, but make sure that you follow the directions because I've had a lot of problems with that where I'm always very specific about how I want the tape. I'll say, whatever, I want it Vimeo or I want it sent to this address or whatever it is. It's different each time, but it does make me crazy when actors don't follow the directions because usually if they don't follow the directions, it almost always makes my life harder. So you want to make it easy for the casting director. And yeah, and then the other things are just you have to pay attention to the shot size. So this is usually about what I want. I want top of head to nipple. That's a good shot size. But again, follow directions because that casting director might want something different. Sometimes they want to see full body shot in the beginning. That's what I want. I always want an actor to get, because I want to see their whole body so they're not just a talking head. And I always want them to tell me their height, and that's only because we need to fit them into the shot with the other actor.
Yes, thank you. So we have the third part of our workshop or lecture. We have some questions from the audience. And I want to remind the audience that you can
I
write
like the music.
your questions in the comments below our stream. Thank you.
So we're waiting for questions now?
We have some.
Okay.
Yeah. So the first question is, so thank you, Nancy, for the monologue challenge you organized. How
welcome.
did the Black Lives Matters go?
Well, we're still looking at them right now because we got a lot in, and so we're reviewing them. There's definitely some good work there, and I'm really happy for it because I felt really helpless, when something bad happens in the world. So, I mean, obviously racism has been happening for a long time. So I just was happy to be able to do something positive, and I'm glad that so many people wanted to participate.
The second one, do you prefer actors represented by an agent? I am mainly asking for actors based in Prague.
Oh yeah, I mean, yes, but it's really hard in Prague because we have such a weird system there. I mean, as far as I know, I'm the only casting director there that isn't also an agent, and so it's a very kind of uncomfortable situation in Prague, and it happens other places too. It may happen in Ukraine as well. But what you really want is you want to try to get an agent who's not also a casting director. So in Prague, and I know that my agent, Luke Chowdhury, is working there, and he's representing actors. But I think in general, like as I noted earlier, it's always better for a casting director to work through an agent than to work directly with the actors because I think that agents are there for a reason. I think that they do a better job of negotiating on the artist's behalf. and again, it's awkward for an actor to negotiate on behalf of themselves.
Thank you. Maybe you can tell some stories, examples, how you or your colleagues found the actors from Russia and Ukraine for your films.
Well, I did talk about that already. This, the one I'm working on now, I made the contacts to various agents and casting directors in Ukraine from my various trips there. I've been there to Odessa twice. I've been to Kiev twice also. So that's mostly it. I mean, I do also watch movies, that were made in the various countries, but it depends on what we need. If we need somebody who speaks English, it doesn't always help to watch the movie in Russian with subtitles, because we might see an actor we love and then think, oh, I want to work with that actor, but then we find out they can't speak English and we need somebody who speaks English. So that's why you need somebody kind of local to tell us, okay, well, this guy speaks English, this guy doesn't, etc. But I do, when I'm watching things, like if there's a Russian actor in it, for example, if there's a Russian character, I almost always look them up on IMDb. I say, oh God, who's playing that role? He's good. And then I put him on a list. I have several lists that I just keep on the side. Also, there's been, very specific programs, like, in Odessa, they had a program where they introduced us to specific actors. And Richard Cook, who has the Subtitle Festival in Ireland, he often invites Russian and Ukrainian actors over to Ireland to meet casting directors. There are various, there's also, oh gosh, this is terrible. I'm forgetting what it's called now. But there's a Russian organization that I work with where they're formally introducing casting directors to actors. And so, it seems like this forum that you're doing now, that Olga organized and got funded, is a very good one. And, you should keep encouraging her and the, Ukrainian Film Fund or whatever to do more, and to do more events where you invite casting directors to Ukraine, have speed dating, stuff like that. It's often good to organize it around a festival. So if you have a film festival there, that's a good time to invite casting directors to see films, to meet actors and stuff like that.
Yeah, we have two big film festivals in Odessa and in Kiev.
Yep. So, I did go to a couple of them. I'm not sure if they invited casting directors last year. Maybe they did, but it's a good thing to keep doing. It shouldn't always be me. There's other casting directors. But anyway, I've been lucky enough to go a few times. I would like to come back again, though, and I was telling Olga this because we finally found my grandmother's my grandmother's birth certificate, and we found out she was born in okay, so don't laugh at me. I'm going to say the name of the town, and I'm going to say it wrong. Biela Terskev, I believe it's called White Church, south of Kiev.
Yeah,
so it would be interesting to go there.
Biela Cerkva, White Church.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that's it. And I would like to go there just because my grandmother was born there.
I hope you will. New question. Is it possible to star in a foreign project with a very small experience, only episode role?
Anything's possible.
Yeah, it's a very short answer.
We put a man on the moon. I think what that person is asking me actually is, will you please cast me as a lead in a film?
maybe he or she also. Does formal education in the field of acting increase one's chances to be called for an audition? Or chances are more or less the same for professionals and amateurs?
Well, see, I'm getting a lot of questions like this where I'm kind of asked to make a, a generalization. This is a creative field and almost anything can happen. And there are actors that have gotten famous who didn't have training, and there are some who, who had many who had training. Um, and it also in different countries they have different opinions on it too, because I know in Poland, for example, they don't, you're not even allowed to say you're an actor unless you went to 4 to 6 years of acting school or something like that. And it was really, I had a really funny experience there, because I would go and I had more than one actor say to me, and even an agent, I am not a professional actor. And I thought, wow, that's a fantastic way to introduce yourself to a casting director. I mean, even though they had been actors who had been paid for acting, like where I come from, you're a professional actor if you're paid for acting. In the UK, they're big on training too. They take very seriously the acting schools here, and they think it's important. In the US, there's a lot of actors who go to coaching and stuff like that. They don't necessarily go to the conservatories, although there are very good conservatories in the US, like Juilliard and Yale, and some of the big actors did go to them. Like Adam Driver. Yeah, he went to Juilliard, and Meryl Streep went to Yale, and so but not. I mean, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think Johnny Depp didn't really get any training. I think he went to a coach. So it's kind of all over the planet, really. With that, it's all over the board. I don't think there's not a formula. There's not a recipe. I think, of course, studying and getting coaching is good for anybody in any field. Tiger Woods, he's a golfer. He has coaches.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't think he's too good to have a coach. I guess he's kind of on the downturn now, but even when he was at the height of his career, he was getting coaching. So I don't think it's ever a waste of time. I think that actors should continue their education and keep learning and all that.
Thank you. The next question. I don't have the professional show reel. It includes just my own works, which are not professionally done. Is it a good idea to use this show reel for productions, or it is better to be clean?
Well, you have to. I mean, it is good to have tape, and so if it is a good question, because of course, if you're just starting out, you haven't, you've got to start somewhere. So yes, you have to start with what you have. And I always tell people they could, for example, volunteer at the film school. And I think that Robert De Niro and Martin Scorsese, they met each other at film school. So you've got to start somewhere. And so that's quite a good idea to do. And yes, of course, you can devise your own work. You can work with other actors and other directors, other writers. You should have somebody professional look at it before you share it, because I have seen work that probably shouldn't be shared. Because not all work that you do on your own is going to be good, is going to help you. So you should check it out. You should ask somebody if your work is, even though it's not professionally shot, if it's good enough to be shared, or if you should maybe, wait a little longer, take a few more classes, study more, or something like that.
Thank you. In Ukraine, we have used to self-presentation about me videos. I have found similar in European market. Will we need it for the new normality? I mean, nowadays, restrictions and the popularity of self-tapes.
I'm not sure I understood the question. So did you ask, was it about me tapes you were asking about, or what? Can you ask it again?
Yeah,
Maybe
about me
slower?
videos.
Oh, about me videos. Yeah, I mean, that's become a thing. My colleague Beatrice Kruger really encourages people to do those on, she started the Italenta platform. And, like I said before, there's no recipe in this business. And sometimes, sorry, you know what, I'm feeling like I'm a little bit dark here. Should I turn on the light, or can you see me?
For me, it's okay.
It's okay. Okay, good. The About Me tapes, I'm not, I mean, personally, this is just my opinion. I'm not always a fan of the Me About Me tapes. They can be good if it's an actor I don't know and I just want to get a sense of their energy and who they are and how they sound in English and stuff like that. Sometimes when you're playing a character, I'd rather just see you in the character first than as you, if you know what I mean. So again, it's one of those things that's going to vary. I mean, sometimes it's going to be right and sometimes it's not going to be right.
What do you pay attention to in the first place when actors send you their self-tapes?
Are you asking me if I watch them? What do you mean? I mean, if I've asked for them, yes. If I didn't ask for them, no, I won't watch them. If you're just randomly sending me a tape. I mean, I'll tell you that actors every day, like, okay, I've been on this video now for I don't know how long, half an hour or something. When I check my email after this, it's possible that I'll have 10 emails from actors wanting me to look at their work. And it would be impossible. If I looked at everybody who sent me their work, I would do nothing but that. And I wouldn't have time to, do my work or walk my dog or go to the bathroom or do anything else. So, I mean, if you just cold send me, or, I think this goes for any casting director. If you just cold send me your material, it probably won't be watched. But, when it's requested, yes, I watch it. Was that the question?
Not exactly. What do you notice in the self-tape in the first place?
Oh, what do I notice in the self-tape? Okay, so, well, usually we're looking for something. Again, this is one of those questions it's very difficult to answer because I'm being asked to answer generally, and it's not a general thing. I mean, we're, for example, I'll just give you a really obvious example. And one of the things I was looking for recently, we needed somebody with very, very specific physical characteristics. It was a comedy, it was a joke, and it was about making the joke wouldn't really work unless we had a height differential, for example. So that was one of the first things I looked at was like, okay, does this guy actually look how the director wants him to look? So sometimes you have something like that. Sometimes you have like, or you have to find somebody who looks like another actor, or so there are those very specific physical things that sometimes are quite important. Other times, we might be looking for a quality, or we might be looking for, okay, how does this person fit with another person? How does this first person fits into the story? I mean, of course, we're always looking for good actors. Somebody might stand out because, I mean, now here's one of the things that actors ask a lot. They ask, how can I stand out? Which the way I answer that is that you don't want to stand out. You actually want to blend in because you want to blend into the story and you want to tell the story. So a good thing to do is to look at the character that you're playing. And if you have an opportunity to read the script, then you can see how that character fits into the script and how that character tries to tell the story of that script. So that's the kind of thing that you might stand out because you blend in to the story. You know what I mean? You tell the story well, you know your position in the story. Sometimes you're there to actually give stage to another character. For example, if you're in the scene with, let's say, the star, maybe what that character needs to be doing is backing up and supporting the star and not upstaging them. So it can really, really vary. So I think that from your point of view, what you want to think about is, I think it's not going to be helpful for you to think, okay, how can I make Nancy like me? Or how can I make Nancy pay attention to me? What you want to do is figure out the character and what story the character is telling. What is the goal of the character? What does the character want in the scene? That's a basic Stanislavski thing. I'm sure all of you studied Stanislavski. What do I want? What's the goal? What is the objective of the character? And play that. And that's the way to think. That's the way to think of it, to do a good audition. Not how can I impress the casting director? How can I tell this story?
Thank you. It was full answer.
Yeah, maybe too much. Sorry.
How important is for an international actor to join an accent class?
Well, of course, the better your accent is, you know, I think that in most cases, what you want is you want clear English. And to be honest, my opinion is that there are some people in the world who are very good at learning languages and accents. And those generally are people who are good at music, and sometimes they're good at math too. I don't know why those things go together sometimes. And they just can pick up languages and accents very easily. There are some people who will try for the rest of their life to speak another language like a native speaker, and they will never achieve it. And that's okay too, because there are many roles that are not written for native speakers. So that's fine. There are actors who have made a career of performing in their own accent, like Gerard Depardieu, for example. I mean, his English is really not good, but he's so good that it doesn't matter. We'll tolerate his French accent. That's fine. So I think that everybody should concentrate on making, if they want to perform in English, you should concentrate on making your English as clear as possible. And then if you have gotten to that point where it's very good and you feel like you are the type of person who could learn an accent, then choose American or British, and really go for it. But I think it's very few actors that really eradicate their native language 100%. And like I say, that's okay. I don't think that necessarily has to be your goal in life.
Thank you. Here is three quite similar questions. So I make one of them. If I don't have an agent, is it a problem to me get into international projects?
Yeah, I mean there are actors.
Not accent.
Yeah, I mean there are
what
actors.
Sorry, I have
Okay,
the
go on.
second part.
Okay.
What would you recommend for the actors from non-UA countries on how to find and connect with European international agents?
Well, yeah, I think that it's good to find an agent, but I mean, I have on occasion, I don't know, maybe through contacts or whatever. Like, yeah, for example, I don't know how I got connected to her. I think maybe it was through a casting director, but I remember specifically that I did cast a Latvian actress once who didn't have an agent. So, I mean, it can happen, of course, or through social media or something like that. So you should try to get an agent. When you're asking about non-EU countries, I assume that you're asking because you're Ukrainian. Do you think that's right? Is that person Ukrainian who's asking? Or did you open this to other countries? Is this maybe somebody from, I don't know, Turkey or something? Do you know who's asking?
Ukraine, Russia.
Okay, because the reason I'm asking is because Ukrainian actors, for whatever reason, I think there's a loophole, and I think that Ukrainian actors are able to work in Schengen countries if they have what's it called, a biometric passport. I did check this once, and it was the case for this particular. It was when I was working on the Romanovs, and to work in Romania, at least it was working, I think, and I. Don't quote me on this because maybe I'm wrong, but I think that in Czech Republic too, the Ukrainians can work. So yeah, sorry that I don't know the answer for that, but maybe you do. So in other words, what I'm saying is I don't think it should be a problem for a Ukrainian actor to get a European agent. When you have a problem is when you can't get the work permit. Now, some European agents, like a lot of the ones in London, unless you're already famous or something, they don't really want to represent you unless you live in London. So it can be tricky. I'm not saying it's easy at all.
Is it important to have already end credits in international projects in order to get in one?
Well, that's, of course, that's the catch-22, is that, how do you get in something when you don't already have a credit? So everybody does have to start somewhere, and everybody does. So, the times when I've been looking at Ukrainian actors, I wasn't necessarily looking at their credits because they could send me their credits and I wouldn't know them. So it's more about the audition. But also, I should say that I haven't announced it yet, but I am going to do an Insta Live. I'm going to do an Insta Live presentation called How to Get an Agent, and I'm going to interview agents. So everybody, if you're not already following me on Instagram, follow me because that's coming up. This Thursday, I'm doing an Insta Live at, let's see what time, I think 5 o'clock UK time. So I guess it's 7 o'clock. I think it will be 7 in the evening Ukrainian time. And it's going to be about how to do an Instagram account. And then after that, I'm going to do a series on how to find an agent.
Yeah, so what's the answer on the question?
Well, the answer is to watch my Insta Live series. There's not again, it's not like I'm being asked these questions. Is okay, I'll tell you how to get an agent. You go to a building on 3rd Avenue and you go to the 10th floor and there's where all the agents are. There's not an answer like that. Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. It's a good answer, actually.
It's like it can happen in a number of ways. It could be because they saw you in something. It could be because you send your material. It could be because maybe you got cast in something and you wanted somebody to do your contract for you. It could be because you invited them to the theater and they came, like that. It could be because you met them at a party. It could be because you were taking a piss in a urinal and there was an agent pissing next to you and you started talking to him. There's just no recipe for these things.
A lot of options.
Yeah. It's a human relationship,
Could it help to send material directly to international casting directors outside your country production area?
Well, like I said, when I get off of this call, I'll have at least 10 different emails from actors. Maybe not even from the actors who are watching today. They might be from actors just from anywhere. And like I say, if I read and reviewed all of that material, I wouldn't have time to do anything else. But also, I think that with casting directors, we're not looking for talent generally. We're looking for specific talent at specific times. So there might be, for example, I just got a thing where I'm looking for kids in Prague, right? I'm looking for 6-year-old girls in Prague. Now, if you're a 6-year-old girl from Prague and you send me an email today, I will read it. You see what I mean? But if you sent it another day, I would probably, just put it in the pile. What I do when actors send me emails is I send out a general answer with some information about, things I'm doing to help actors. Because I do a lot of, actor education. Not all casting directors do. Some casting directors won't answer you at all. So.
You're a generous casting director.
Well, I don't know. I try to help, but I don't know. Hopefully I can be helpful. I try to be.
I have a new question. Prague Film School. Is it better to attend 1-year acting program there or 6 weeks intensive at Yale Conservatory for Actors? What will help me?
Well, yeah, again, it's one of those questions. Yeah, I don't know. I started the program at the Prague Film School. So I like it when people go to the Prague Film School, of course. But Yale's a very good school. So Yeah, I didn't know they had a 6-week course. I really don't know anything about their 6-week course. So I don't know. There's always a bunch of different things to take into consideration. And one of them is where you make the most contacts and where you want to live. I mean, I would guess that maybe if you wanted to live in America, maybe it's better to study there. If you wanted to stay in Europe, maybe it's better to study here. I'm not sure. But yeah, I know the Prague Film School is good because I started the program.
Is it necessary to speak Czech without accent to land a role in Czech Republic?
Well, I don't really cast too many of the Czech things. I mean, I think that probably if you were up for a role in the Czech Republic, it would probably be because they were looking for a Russian or a Ukrainian, I would guess. And I mean, there are Russian actors. There's a couple of Russian actors that work in Prague, and I think they speak with an accent. And I think it's okay, slight accent.
You have thought about the script, so when we are making self-tapes, should we ask to know all the script, or the scene could be on us?
You can absolutely always ask for the script, but they might not send it. Like sometimes I'm working on things that I don't get to look at the script. So sometimes they just won't, but they're not going to punch you in the nose for asking. You can definitely ask for the script.
Is it necessary?
Well, I mean, I think it helps you to understand the project better and your role in it if you can read the script. Yeah. But sometimes you don't have time to read the whole thing or whatever. I mean, it depends. If you're up for a callback or something like that, I would think that you should read the script, if not for any other reason, because you want to see if you want to audition us too. Remember, you're auditioning us too. Maybe you don't want to be involved with this film or whatever. Maybe there's something in it that you don't like, or that goes against your principles, or there's violence in it, or something like that.
For your upcoming project in Prague, will you have doing casting based on photos or show reels? Can actors send to your assistants their material if they would like to audition? Thank.
On occasion, we can cast people from show reels. Again, it depends on the project. I mean, I would say 9 out of 10 times they want to see you doing the material. And I know that's in Russia, it's less. They don't audition as much as they do show reels, because I'm working with this great Russian director now, Nick Ledbedev. And he was quite happy to look at reels. And I actually encouraged him to have the actors read more, because I think you can learn more from watching an actor read the actual role.
Please briefly tell us how we can get into your point of view by the casting portals you named. Thanks.
You definitely want to be on at least 1 or 2 databases. Was that the question?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Nancy, for such useful conversation.
You're welcome.
And please sorry for English and technical troubles.
No, it's okay. It's fine. I don't think it's been too bad.
It's actually a message for me.
It's fine.
I have another question.
These things happen.
From myself. Are you writing a new book now?
I'm updating my book now, and it should be out next year. But you can get Auditioning for Film and TV. That's available on Amazon, for example, or from the publisher Bloomsbury. I just happen to have a copy right here, actually. Believe it or not, I know that looks like a setup, but that actually was next to me. And the reason it's next to me is because I'm rewriting it, so I have notes in it. I don't usually have it right there.
What would you add to your new book?
Sorry, what was I didn't hear. Can you ask again?
What would you add to your new book?
Oh, what would I add? Well, for one thing, things are just change. The technology is changing all the time, so I'm change. That. And then also, because we had this huge event in casting, which is called the Me Too movement. I'm writing about that. I'm writing about actors' rights. Like, for example, if you had a situation where you come into an audition and they ask you to take your shirt off and you don't want to take your shirt off or whatever like that. And I'm talking about how to handle scenes of intimacy, because now there's a new profession called intimacy coordinator. So the same way, if you go to set and they want you to do a sword fight, they don't just give you a sword and say, okay, just do a sword fight. You choreograph it. And so that's what they're starting to do with love scenes too, which is a really good idea. I'm talking about like how to make decisions about nudity and scripts and stuff like that. So there's going to be a lot of new chapters on that, for example.
How to write a job offer for sex scenes ethically?
Sorry, can you repeat?
How to write a offer for sexual scenes ethically?
How to write an offer for sex scenes? Is that what you're asking? I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time understanding the question.
We had some issue with the proposition of shooting in sex scenes.
Oh, right. So is the question, what do I do if I'm asked to do a sex scene and I feel uncomfortable with it? Is that the question, maybe?
And the first, okay, this can be the first part of the question. And the second, you as a casting director, how can you write the right offer?
The right offer meaning, is that about money or is that about how I negotiate it or
way.
ethically? Well, I think in general, with nude scenes, what you want to do is you want to look at this whole script. You want to look at the whole project. You want to look at the director and what he or she has done before. You want to see if that is a director who's doing scenes tastefully. You want to meet the director and see if you feel comfortable with him or her and see if you will feel like you'll be dealt with fairly in a way that makes you feel comfortable. Like if you're getting a sleazy vibe or something from the director and he's never done anything before, you might question that. There's all kinds of rules now about, like, for example, you're allowed to have, what do they call it? A chaperone, somebody with you, a buddy, your agent, somebody, a coach with you on set when you're doing those scenes. Also, there's certain rules. You're supposed to have a closed set, for example. And you're also supposed to have a contract, a nudity contract that says exactly what, okay, it will be so specific, it will lay out exactly what parts of your body will be seen. Like, you will see my left breast for 3 seconds on a moving shot, something like that. It would be that specific. So basically, all those things should be negotiated ahead of time. And then a good thing to do would be to ask if they have an intimacy coordinator or ask if they could hire one, because that's their job, to oversee that and to make sure it's done in a way that makes everybody comfortable.
Thank you very much, Nancy. We will share the Insta Live with actors. And we really hope to meet with you in Ukraine next time, maybe in White Church.
Yeah, we don't have to meet in White Church. That would be a day trip for me. I know that it would be better to meet in Kiev or Odessa, but thank you.
Have a good day and great projects. Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Thank you. It was nice to spend the afternoon with you.
Thank you. Bye. So join our Next broadcast on Saturday at 4 p.m. Ukrainian casting director Alina Marchuk will tell how to present herself as an actor. We will speak about singing things and common mistakes. That's it for now. We were accompanied by Nancy Bishop and the moderator of the meeting, Alex Maloshenko. Stay tuned.